Welcome to episode 13 of the Hike or Die Outdoor Adventure podcast. Craig, what is better than one guest? That's right, two guests. Today we have Caz and Chrissy on the podcast with us from a wild land. This is a couple that sold up everything and got on the road and started traveling, and they have some absolutely fantastic stories. Mate, I'm going to do a really scary laugh for the 13th episode, and then you just start the music, okay? You ready? Ha 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 ha. G'day guys, how you doing? I hope you're not scared off by that demonic laugh. How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing good, man. How are you, eh?
Pretty good. Okay, we got rid of some listeners there. That's good.
Yep.
Needed to do a cull. Let me start by thanking our sponsors. Without them, a lot of this wouldn't be possible, and we do appreciate it. Bluey Merino supply us with all of our base layers, all of our merino wool needs, and it is fantastic stuff, and it's Australian made. Rios Gear provide us with polarized floating sunglasses. Again, they're an awesome piece of kit that I absolutely love, so check them out, give them some love. Caribou, suppliers of quality backpacks and outdoor gear. And last but not least, Topo Maps Plus, go deeper into the backcountry with their app. You can use that app to access all sorts of maps around the world and access to all bunches of trails. There you go. I said it. Craig, how you doing, mate?
Hey, buddy. Good, man. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Are you still seem a bit scared from that laugh?
Yeah, you just freaked me out. Lucky 13, hey?
Yeah, lucky 13. And we actually had some technical issues, which is a little bit spooky, right?
Yeah, man. Yep, I'm sure it's just a one-off thing, man. That's not like me.
Yeah, we're not one to just skip 13. I didn't want there to be episode 12 and then episode 14. That's not how we roll.
No.
As the saying goes, lucky for some. So it's lucky for us.
True.
And those guys are absolute cracking guests, so I can't wait to share that with you guys.
Yeah.
What's new in news, Craig?
My news?
Yeah, got anything?
Mate, I wish I had something. Unfortunately, I haven't been out too much since last meeting. I have been, pretty busy with work and home stuff. Just enjoyed, though, some heavy rain at home, man. And
The rain's been epic.
yeah.
It's been so good. I've got my grass is 1.5 feet long.
Yeah. No, and I thought you were going to ask me, and I thought, oh, what have I got? I've just got the fact that I really loved getting out with the kids in the rain and the puddles and the mud, and just how innate it is for us to get outside and outdoors, and some quality time with a bit of awesome weather.
Yeah, it comes back to one of my favourite things, and that is really feeling the environment. And I think jumping around in the rain, it's great that you're taking your kids out and saying, oh, just because it's raining, it doesn't mean we have to stay indoors. So I think that's something that's definitely taught to a lot of kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I actually love it when it rains like this. I like doing a workout in the backyard. I think I mentioned last podcast I just bought some kettlebells, and I've done 2 workouts since then. And the second time I was working out, it just started to rain on me, and I was pretty wicked. It just kind of cools you off a bit.
For sure.
But and I like running in the rain too. It's pretty cool.
The kids love it. It's like there's nothing else to them to just be.
They don't care. They get soaked and they just don't care.
Which is great.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
Mhm.
I think we forget. We start to have this fear of getting wet, and as we get older. But no, it's good. Start 'em young, mate.
Yeah.
I knocked off another 10K trail run on Sunday,
Oh, okay.
and I revisited the dungeon. If you listen to an earlier podcast,
Yeah.
that's a particular section of a half marathon that I did, which has got extreme elevation down and then up. Well, I did 10K version.
Well, another organised
No,
run?
no, I just went back.
Okay.
So I looked up what the 10K run would have been,
Yeah.
and I mapped it out in my phone, and then I went back through and did like quite a good time. I was running with someone else because we were training up for a different event, and they haven't run in a while, so I had to wait a few times. Not having a go at them, just saying they're just getting back into it, and it was brutal elevation. But yeah, I was waiting, and I still did a good time. So yeah, it feels good.
No,
Feels
that's
good,
nice,
man.
mate. I listened back and I thought, gee whiz, you did do a pretty serious. I don't know, you think you jumped in the deep end and you did a great job, man.
Yeah, I did, and the weird thing is, I was thinking about it on the way here. Is it didn't scare me off. It did at the time, and it did for about an hour after.
Yeah.
I was saying I'm never going to do this again, but something weird has happened now. So after that, when I ran 10Ks again, I did the best time I've ever done because I know that I've still had fuel in the tank after 21. So anyway, I don't want to bore people with my trail running, but it was nice to get out and do that. Big news, actually massive news. Probably should have mentioned it on the last podcast, but we just had so much other news to catch up on. Almost simultaneously, or at least within a few weeks of each other, Salomon released the Speed Cross 5 shoe, a trail running shoe.
Really?
A lot of their ads and everything on Instagram was a bright red pair, like the whole thing's red.
I haven't seen any of it, so
It looks epic, mate. It looks epic. I'm sure you can get it in black and other colours, but I think they really just went for that red one just to catch people's attention.
So what's the go?
Look, it's hard to know where they've made changes. Unless I got a pair and actually tried them. I only just recently invested in a second pair of Speedcross 4s.
Is that what you run in?
Yeah, I do. Well, sometimes I run in a pair of Merrill trail runners as well, which are super light, and they just have a what's the word for it? Is it called a zero drop? It's basically when you don't have any heel at all. It's just like running normal.
Yeah, but the lugs on those Speedcross 4s, I have never asked you if that's what you're running in, but they're awesome, right?
Yeah, they are. That's the thing is I'm in two minds. When I run on the trail near my house, it's got some elevation, but it doesn't have actual parts where you'd need great traction. So I can get away with the Merrills.
Yeah.
But they're a discontinued shoe, but they're still pretty epic. But when I did the 10Ks on Sunday, I definitely took the Speedcross because I just knew that there are parts where you just don't want to be slipping when you're trying to climb these big hills.
Yeah.
Now, as I was saying, simultaneously, Merrill have released the Trail Glove 5, which is reminiscent of the old shoe that I've got, which is called the Fuse All Out. I think All Out Fuse or something like that. And it's the one that's discontinued, but the Trail Glove 5 is basically, I'd say it's almost as close as you're going to get to Vibram 5 Fingers, but with all the toes joined up.
Okay.
So it's very, very minimalist.
Cool.
Very contoured to the foot. So if you look at the sole underneath, it looks like more of the shape of a foot rather than just a big elongated oval shape.
Yeah.
I know the Speedcross is like that as well, but the major difference at least visually, because I don't own both of these shoes yet, is the heel, and it's that zero drop between the heel and the ball of the foot that is becoming more and more enticing and interesting to me. So I don't know how much longer I will run in the speed cross because of that very reason. I'll use it for the technical terrain, and I'll keep training in it, but I just don't know. I just can see myself moving towards a more minimalist shoe.
Yeah, you don't know what's happened to the Speedcross 5, what's changed?
No, I don't. Sorry,
Yeah,
no. I mean, visually...
Because I got the 4s. I use them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so I actually got 2 pairs of 4s because I wore them so much that because they're so comfortable, I wear them to work, and it's quite a walk each day from the train station to work and back. It's a couple of kilometres. And as I've already told you, I've worn, I think you have, just worn those big lugs off the bottom. It doesn't matter when I'm wearing them at work because they're still such a comfortable shoe. But I bought a second pair that only touches dirt, and I just keep them at home and only run on the trail with them, like not even on the bitumen.
Gotcha.
So I will continue to use them. I still love them. I still rate them very highly, but I just have a gut feel that I'm going to try out these Merrell Trail Glove 5s. If anyone out there is running any of this gear, or if you've been lucky enough to grab those new Merrells or the new Speed Cross, drop us a line or anywhere, Instagram, whatever. Let me know what you reckon, because I'm sure that everyone else would be pretty keen to hear that. Yeah, that's big news.
Did you get your number 7? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, I do. It's in my bag right behind us. I bought it tonight to show you. Yeah, I got the GoPro 7 turned up. It actually turned up last week, end of last week, and I got it all out, had a look at it. It looks like a extremely well manufactured piece of equipment. I really like it. I charged all the batteries, and would you believe I still haven't turned it on?
What?
Yeah, I was just ridiculously busy last weekend, and today I was preparing for this and for our upcoming trip to Tasmania. So it's just been low on the priority list.
Yeah, well, that's still pretty exciting, though.
Yeah, I've still got time to break it out and give it a run.
Super jealous.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a game changer for this trip.
Yeah, cool, man.
Yeah. I always do a bit of a Google search on just hiking news in general before we hit each episode, because I just like to hear what's about. And what I've said this in a much, much earlier podcast, what I'm kind of disappointed in is 98% of those stories are just people getting lost, because that's kind of what pops up. Hiker gets lost here. Hiker does this. Hiker does that. Someone dies canoeing or whatever. But again, there was these couple of Australian people got lost. I think they were lost for 4 days. Did you hear about that?
No.
It was on the news and everything. Pretty serious. The area that they were in was pretty serious terrain. They started off on the trail. From what I saw in the interview, they started off on a trail. They think at some point they started to take an animal track, so a bit of an animal highway, and then ended up in a place where it didn't fit any of the I guess the picture of where they thought they were going to end up, and they realised that they were definitely well and truly lost. So they sat tight, and they sat tight for a few days. And I mean, I commend these guys for doing that. I think it's a very smart thing to do. And then eventually they realised that they could see down into this valley, and they could see cattle. And they ended up and some kind of a lake or something. So they ended up deciding that they had to get out of there, and they made their way down and kind of popped out onto this road. All good. They're 100% safe. No harm done. It's really hard for me, Craig. You know, it's hard for me to not. There's so many things I want to say, but I don't want to be disrespectful of those people. But I just see these stories pop up, and one of their comments was, I think one of their kids said, "Oh, I think we're going to buy him a PLB, personal locator beacon, so that for the next time they go out." Yeah. And they kind of made the joke, "Yeah, I think we're going to buy a box of 100." And
is that right?
Yeah, and I kind of, that's funny, and I'm so glad they're safe, of course. But I just go back to the couple of. It's easy in hindsight to pick faults, right? And that's not what I'm trying to do here. I guess what I'm trying to do is say, for everyone else there, let's just let's be happy that they're safe, but also let's take a lesson out of this. And I think that lesson is have a GPS device or maps and a compass. Understand where you're going and where you need to be. Take a bit more food and water that you think you need. Because they only had a couple of muesli bars, granola bars for a couple of days.
Right.
And then on top of that, put a price on your life, see what it's worth, and then have a look at how much a personal locator beacon is and see which one weighs up,
Yeah. I think I did hear about this. So can you give any details where it was?
No, because my laptop's back there,
right.
And
they said someone was rescued
Melbourne. It was near Melbourne, I think.
Several days in the bush.
Yeah, they spent nearly 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah.
4 days. And so, with probably no shelter.
No, I believe
because they weren't expecting to stay the night.
They weren't expecting. No, I think they just had.
That's one of those typical news reports.
But it is, and usually it ends bad, and it could have ended bad, but it could have been avoided. And again, I mean, I keep going back to, I'm not trying to have a go at these people, but I'm trying to set listeners up for success, and that is, hey, these guys made it out, everything's cool, but please think about a couple of basic things. It's going to be a recurring theme, mate, because I'm reading a book at the moment, and I'm not going to give it away because I'm not finished yet. It's not time for that, Craig. I won't have finished this until the next time we record. And this particular person makes mistake after mistake after mistake that puts them in a position where they are so close to death it's not funny. And any one of these things, like the first mistake he makes is he leaves a note to his flatmates, the people he lives with. He usually leaves a note of exactly where he's going, and he just wrote the name of the whole area.
Right.
Basically the state. This is where I'm going. So he didn't narrow it down, and anyway, rant over. I'm happy to hear those guys are safe, but let's just take a minute to think about how we can not get in that situation.
Yeah, sure. Lesson.
Yeah. Wow, I just am so good at putting a downer on things, aren't I?
Sometimes.
Yeah. I had another point I was going to make. It was just going to be the most happiest point ever, but I've kind of lost it.
We need that now.
Yeah, we need it right now, and I didn't write it down. Anyway, Craig's favourite segment of the entire podcast.
Books with Tom.
That's right. I've only completed one book between the last time we met, because it was only a couple of weeks ago. And it was a fantastic book, American Sniper by Chris Kyle. Why am I talking about a book like that?
Cool.
Because so many of there's just so much adversity in it, so much that you've really got to, appreciate how much stress that he's putting the human body under, both mentally and physically, and being able to perform under that. There's some amazing stuff in there. There's not much hiking related stuff in there. I'd say probably zero. But it's not the point. That's what I'm saying. Like, man, just to be clear, books with Tom doesn't just have to be outdoor books. This one I'm saying is worth the read. Now, I still have never seen the film because I quite deliberately wanted to read the book first. And it was a little bit confronting in that it really made me think about mortality and all of that sort of stuff. And it almost had me down for a couple of days. I was just a bit out of thoughts. What I was trying to say is I was just a bit out of sorts, and I was just kind of overthinking a lot of things. But it is a fantastic book, and yeah, I'd recommend it. It's a good read, man. Mm. Have you seen the film?
Yes, but you've put me on the spot. You know what? Can you tell me what happens in the book then?
The thing is, nothing really happens. It's just a book of segments of different, the training he went through, the different, the different battles that he ended up in. But he's a sniper.
Yeah.
So his role is to be the sniper. He got the most kills, recorded kills of any sniper in the military at that time.
Cool.
And
American Sniper, it's called.
Yeah,
because there's all these ones called Shooter and.
That's a Mark Wahlberg movie. Really good movie. Totally unrelated.
I kind of get them mixed up, but
yeah, not hard to get it mixed up.
But I do enjoy that kind of thing. So
it's. I reckon you've probably seen it.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's already might even be 4 years old or something. I think it was a 2015 film, off the top of my head. And from everything I've been told, it's a great film. I just picked up this book as usual in my local secondhand store and thought, great, I'll read that prior to seeing, and that'll make me watch the film. And at least I've got the proper detail before I watch the Hollywood version.
You know what I did?
You read a book?
No.
Of course you didn't, mate. Bloody idiot.
I watched a film about Vikings picking up rocks.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
What was it called?
Full
I've got
full strength or full
yeah.
full bore.
It means full strength, but it's in Icelandic.
You recommended it. I watched
Forstyrka.
Yeah, that's
Forstyrka. Something like that.
I couldn't turn it off. It was really, it was unreal.
It's good though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Craig's referring to a film that I mentioned on the last podcast, and I put it on. I put it in the links because it's on. Is it on? What was that channel called?
No, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, it's on YouTube, but there's a particular channel. It's like a sports and fitness channel, and
yeah, right.
You can find the trailer on there.
Yeah,
but the whole film is on there.
The whole film's on there.
It's legit. It's not a rip-off. It's on their channel. They made the film. They've decided to put the whole thing up. And it is just extraordinary.
It is, actually.
The history and the scenery and the stories and these guys just picking up these things that weigh as much as a small car or something.
I know. It's just a big strongman event, but they make it into this. It's got this cultural aspect that I never knew was there.
Deep history.
It's very cool.
It is, isn't
Thanks
it?
for putting me onto that, man.
Oh, that's right. It was a real, what would you say, a curveball, a real odd one. And I wasn't even sure that if I wanted to mention it. But
reminded me of our Swedish friend.
Which Swedish friend? Our good friend
Outdoor
Thomas.
Sweden. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, it reminded me.
Do you reckon he could pick up a rock?
I reckon he could pick up a rock, yeah.
I reckon he
Maybe
could.
not to that size. I reckon he could throw a few logs around.
Yeah.
No, It was
impressive.
yeah, it was impressive, and they were so humble. The guys, they were just really. I felt that as I know it's a documentary, so I don't think characters is the right word, but they had character, and they were really quite lovable straight away.
Check it out.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I'm glad you watched that. That was fun. I sat there and watched the entire thing one night and was just captivated
That's
by
what
it.
happened to me.
Yeah, it's a cool movie. Good on you, mate. Moving into your second favourite segment, which is shout-outs. Speaking of that general vicinity, actually it's probably a bit southwest of there. We got an email from a guy called Cohen. I hope that's pronounced correctly. He's from the Netherlands, and he's been listening to the podcast, and he's just loving it, which is great. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. There's a couple of funny things he mentioned. He said that he started laughing on public transport when he was listening to the great Coffee Sachet saga of 2018.
Is that right?
Yes. And I wrote back to him and said, mate, that almost tore us apart. Yeah, he said he burst out laughing when he was on public transport. I thought that was great. The other thing he said was he's got a friend that he goes adventuring with, and he's partly really sad and partly really happy because that friend's moving out to Australia to live. So he's kind of sad to be missing his adventure buddy, but at the same time knows that that person's coming to a adventure-rich environment. So
cool.
that's cool. I said, well, there's always, now you got an excuse to come out. Now, something interesting, I've heard somebody else talk about this before. I can't remember who I met that was from the Netherlands, but they were talking about hiking in the Netherlands. Do you know how flat it is there? Have you ever?
No.
Yeah. When someone says to me Netherlands, I straight away picture that Swedish, Icelandic, Norway environment.
Mountains.
Yeah. So have a guess how high. I'll give you some context just to be fair. The highest mountain in Australia is Mount Kosciuszko.
Yep.
I almost said Kilimanjaro. That would have been very awkward. Mount Kosciuszko, and that's 2,228 meters high. So it's not big by any stretch of the imagination,
right?
In the world. But have a guess how high the highest mountain in the Netherlands is.
Yeah, you're going to say like 50 meters, aren't you?
Not quite. Not quite. Have a guess.
Oh, I don't know. They've got, Mount Glorious out the back here is 1,000.
1,000 meters.
Yep.
Okay. Is that your guess?
That's what I'm guessing.
It's actually 322.4 meters high. Now, to put that in context, again, in 3 weeks' time when we go to and we summit Mount Ossa, highest mountain in Tasmania, that's 1,617 meters.
Yeah.
And again, to put it in further context, Mount Gun Gun is 253 meters high.
Right.
The little mountain that I can run up in 17 minutes, can run up to the top.
That's almost it.
Is almost it by, what's that, by sort of 70 meters shy of there.
Yeah.
Which is Valserberg, I believe, is the name of it. Isn't that hard to comprehend?
It's different.
I'm used to living in a country that has what I consider very small mountains, but
lots of ice though, like lots of
I couldn't tell you. He said something about dunes. I'm not sure what he meant by that. Rolling hills, perhaps. Anyway, they actually described Walserberg as more of a hill than a mountain.
Yeah, probably.
Which is understandable. All right, so that's interesting facts about Netherlands. Thanks, Cohen. I appreciate your message, mate. Red Swede, thank you as well for your comments on YouTube. He saw the time-lapse video from Tasmania that I did, and he said, I think I've just put that on my bucket list. It's a shame it's on the other side of the world. Still awesome. Thanks. Good to hear from you, mate. Jodes, he's still out there, still bringing the goods.
Yeah.
And he's probably going to need some kind of intervention now, because not only did he discover our podcasts and then totally binge on them, but somehow he stumbled across the YouTube channel and now he's binged on almost every video.
Yeah, right.
This poor guy. But appreciate it, mate. Always appreciate your comments and your support. I had an email. I think this is the first ever email I've had from anybody, because usually it comes through social media.
Okay.
Terry, thanks so much for your email. She sent me an email to ask, what is that app that you keep mentioning? I didn't quite catch the name. She's talking about Topo Maps Plus, TOPOMAPS, and the plus symbol. Two things I want to say about that. Firstly, thanks so much for just jumping in and dropping us a line, because it gives us the opportunity to give you the right information, and also tells me that maybe I need to be a bit clearer about what I'm saying. And then the other point I want to make is the show notes. I don't stop talking about it, but I know what it's like to listen to other podcasts and think I'm going to have to remember that website or that reference or whatever, and then not remember it later and have to scroll through an enormous amount of audio. You can go to HikeordieTV.com. You can click on the podcast page. It will have all of the episodes listed there as hyperlinks. Click on whichever episode you're interested in, and it'll have links to those sponsors that we have, so you can just go through there and get to their websites. It'll also have links to the podcasts on all the different mediums that we provided on. And last but not least, it'll have a pretty big list of the sorts of things we talk about through the news and all that sort of stuff. Oh, Craig, it just came back to me. I was going to ask you, I saw your comment on Facebook about the mountain lion attack.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That was the feel-good story that I was going to go back to. Do you enjoyed it?
That dude, he just stares down the camera and just tells it as
So
it
relaxed.
is. Like it ain't no thing. And yeah, man, he was pretty cool that he manhandled this mountain lion and lived to tell the story.
Yeah, it's funny because since that time, some people have come out and said, based on the carcass of the mountain lion. So this trail runner was attacked by a mountain lion. Go back to episode 12. We delve into it, and the show notes for episode 12 will have like a 7.5 minute video of the press conference.
Watch that video.
It's a cool video, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. He's a cool guy. So a few people have said, it was just a juvenile and it wasn't a big mountain lion and everything. And I'm thinking, can you just shut up? A juvenile mountain lion with its fangs through your hand, it's almost worse because it doesn't understand that it shouldn't be messing with something that big.
Right.
Who cares how big it was?
Yeah.
He says in that press conference, he says he shows how big it is physically with his hands, but he says, it looked to me like a smaller one because I was worried
about-
that the mother might turn up.
Yeah.
So he's not trying to. This guy's not trying to claim anything at all. He is just such a cool dude. He's not trying to be a hero, and he says straight out, it was small. But I don't care. That's like saying, I went surfing and only a small shark bit my leg. Oh, I went swimming and only a small crocodile bit me around the head. It doesn't matter. It's a freaking wild animal. Like, it doesn't matter how big it is, right?
Oh, man, I think
The thing was trying to kill him.
Yeah. He had the right to do what he had to do.
Yeah, he dealt with it,
Far
man. These people sitting on their couch and spitting potato chips everywhere, like having a go at him and using their greasy Cheeto dust-covered fingers to try and type in some troll message on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know people having a go at him, man. I thought he probably had his place to stand. I thought he was...
That's my opinion. He does. Forget about him, mate. You did well.
That's it.
But it's a cool story anyway. It's a good video too.
For sure.
Yeah, excellent. All right. Quickly back to the shout outs. Thanks for KB on YouTube. Yeah, real simple comment saying that they're enjoying the content. I appreciate it. That's it, buddy. I think it's time to jump into this the main part of this. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I'm glad that we're done and dusted because I've got nothing left.
Your words are broken.
They're breaking, that's for sure. I've already used them up. So this is a couple that I met on a hike. I think we worked it out. I was talking to them during the week, and I think we worked it out that it was about almost exactly 4 years ago, I think it was. And we've stayed in touch ever since, and I've been trying to hook them up for a podcast for a while, but they're busy people. In a nutshell, they quit their jobs, sold everything, and packed everything in the back of their little four-wheel drive and went out for a year of adventure. And that was 4 years ago, and they're still out there. Yeah.
They've got a great way of telling their story too. They're
magnificent.
obviously talented in words and images.
Yeah. They have a obviously I'll put the links everywhere, but they have a website called awildland.blogspot.com, I believe.
And it's very special.
It's good. Caz takes fantastic photographs, and Chrissy, his partner, couples them with descriptive storytelling. It's a match made in heaven.
So they talk about some amazing places, and it makes you want to go there.
Yeah, so we'll stop telling you what they're talking about, and we'll let them tell you themselves. Guys, I hope you enjoy this episode, this interview as much as we enjoyed recording it. There's probably not many times in my life that I've ever said that any particular person is the salt of the earth, but these guys are as real as it gets. They're absolutely wonderful people, and I don't have anything else to say, but let's hear it, eh? All right, enjoy.
Hello, Tom.
G'day, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good.
That's good. Hey, I'm here with my mate Craig.
Hey.
Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
I can hear you guys really well, so that's perfect.
Excellent.
We completely forgot about daylight saving.
Yeah, so did I. And
We're like-
the last message I
They're going to
sent.
wonder why we're hassling them.
It's all good. It's all good. It just occurred to us about 40 seconds ago.
yeah. You know. Like, oh, shit.
No dramas. All right. So how you guys been? All right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah, excellent. I have told the story before. I mean, we just spoke about it briefly the other night about how we met, but
Yep.
I'm just going to quickly touch on that now for the listeners who maybe didn't hear that podcast. And then I'd be interested to get your version of events as well. So my memory was on that particular afternoon that we met. So this was on the overland track in Tasmania. And must be around about the day 5 mark. Oh, yeah, about the day 5 mark, I think, from memory.
Yeah, it'd be pretty close to that.
Yeah, and I skipped. I think it's called the Bert Nichols Hut, which is it's the one before the Pine Valley turnoff. And so I skipped that. So it was a long day anyway, and then I skipped that, and then I took the side trail to the Pine Valley Hut, and it was about halfway into that I realised I'd bitten off way more than I could chew, and I started getting pretty delirious and swearing at myself and sorts of things. And it was freezing cold that afternoon with a bit of rain coming through. And then I just remember turning up to this tiny little wooden shack in the middle of the forest, almost like from some fairy tale. And it was dead quiet everywhere. And I just opened this creaky wooden door, and there's you two guys just sitting at the table having a coffee. And I just remember, I'm sure you said something like, "Oh, come on in, mate. We just started the fire." And it was just one of the best welcomes I've ever had. So thank you.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
It was a nice little hut.
It was. That was a cool little hut. I'm not going to get there this time.
It's really tucked away, kind of, and like surrounded close by forest and deep and dark, and
you don't know you've made it until you're right on top of it,
right on the doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is part of the appeal.
But of course, it's set within the sort of like the rainforest area there as well. It sort of gives it that sort of enchanted sort of feel about it as well.
Yeah. Yep. Now, that's how we met, and then we bumped into each other again the following day, and then we had I think we shared a burger together at the end of the trail as well, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is cool.
You had the cabin with the log fire and the hot showers, and we were still in our tent.
Yeah, I had all those things. I always regret not inviting you guys in to sleep on the floor. I always thought, they're such nice people, maybe they'd want a hot shower or something.
But I reckon your bed was all right because you didn't make it up in the morning for our little photography morning.
Oh, yeah,
sunrise.
You totally called me out. Yeah, so, Caz did say, hey, get up early and we'll take some shots down at the lake. And I said, sure thing. And then that didn't even get close to that. It was a good day.
The curtains were still drawn on the cabin and there was no movement.
Fire was still on.
Hey, it had a spa, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
I was so dirty from that 7, because I did a extended trip, so I did side trips, and then I did the extra 2 days. Oh, you guys did you walked out as well, didn't you? You didn't you didn't use the ferry.
No, we walked down.
Yeah, you walked out, because that's how come we were at
that little hut halfway down the lake.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Echo Point.
Yeah, Echo Point. Yeah, so by the time you've done that full amount, and I think you guys did an extra few days through the labyrinth, didn't you?
Yeah, we spent a fair bit of time up there, just sort of just checking things out, and also did a little ascent of the Acropolis.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Yeah, so I got in and scrubbed all the dirt off myself and washed my hair. Then I got back out and I let all of that disgusting water out, and then I filled it up again and had a spa. So there's a little pro tip for all you hikers out there. So how do you guys describe yourselves? How do you describe what you're up to? I think it's fascinating, and I've briefly kind of filled Craig in on everything, but I did put him onto your website as well. But how would you, when you run into people now, how do you describe what the heck you guys are doing with your lifestyle and everything?
We don't often, because people kind of don't understand. People say, "Where do you live?" And we're like, "Well, we don't really live anywhere." But they're like, "You must have a house." We're like, "No, we don't have a house, but you must live somewhere." It's like, "No, we don't live anywhere."
We live in places for just small periods of time. So, like, now we're here at Gloucester, so we're actually in a house for the first time for a number of years.
Wow.
But most of the time we'll just sort of float about and just live out of our car and our tent and just cruise around and explore places.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That was my first question anyway. You've taken that one, so that's good.
So that's only been for like the last 4 years.
Hey, people have trouble doing that for 4 weeks.
So we were kind of normal people once. We had regular jobs and regular rent, and we lived in a flat and, had all those sorts of regular things, and then decided we'd sell everything that we, like basic stuff, sell all our furniture, give away everything, and just keep our adventure gear. And we packed it all into a little tiny RAV and took off for what we called 12 months, our year of adventure, to pack in as many adventures as we could in that 12 months. So we did, we started by actually doing a cycle tour. We were living at the time in Coffs Harbour, so we rode our bikes from Coffs to Newcastle via the mountains, Dorrigo, Armidale, down the back way.
Yep, I remember that story.
Yeah, then straight after that, there was good rain and water, so we went and did a whitewater rafting trip on the Shoalhaven for 10 days.
Yeah.
Just the two of us.
Which was awesome.
Was that
amazing.
the one that went over New Year's? Was that one?
That was the one that was in the Wild Mag that that person on the train gave you.
Yeah, that's right. I've mentioned that on the podcast as well. What a small world, how that loops back around.
Mm.
Yeah.
That was absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
It was an amazing trip. It was just the two of us, and we're just out there for 10 days, and it's just awesome scenery. Like, it's this amazing gorge, but some pretty serious sort of rapids down there as well. So it's for probably about, out of the 10 days, about 4 days solid, it was all this serious sort of, scouting rapids. Can we run them? No, we can't run them.
Yeah.
Okay, now how are we going to get our raft and gear down there? Do we line the boats? That's using sort of like a rope to push the boat down the rapid.
Yep.
Or do we completely portage around and carry it around? Yeah. So, of course, it was only us. You sort of had to make those decisions and make the right decisions as well.
Yeah.
So it was like this four
big
full-on
decisions
days
too.
Yeah. It was sort of mentally and physically, it was a challenging sort of trip. But within that, those 4 days were really challenging.
Yeah. I actually got a few questions about that. Can I backtrack for a second and ask about that time when you were normal? And what you said, you both had day jobs. Chrissy, were you riding full time at that point? Is that what you were doing?
No, I was riding part time.
Riding part time, okay.
So I'd work part time. I'd work 3 or 4 days a week, just doing admin work.
Oh, okay.
To pay the bills, and then doing my own kind of writing on the other 3 or 4 days. Yeah.
Yeah. And Caz, what about yourself, mate?
I was working for a sort of an earth moving company, but they had a sort of like another sort of company where they do sort of demolishing and recycling all the sort of good demolished sort of material out of houses, like all the old hardwood frames, windows, doors, kitchens, stuff like that. So,
I can see how you got that job, mate. You're a bit of a unit. You probably didn't even need a machine, did you?
It was good. We could smash things up and pull them apart.
Oh, great. Okay, so yeah, totally unrelated. Yeah,
it was sort of good for the environment as well because it's all most of the stuff we try to recycle. So
yep.
I actually like that sort of side of the work as well.
I will just jump in though and say before that, to give Caz's outdoors some context, he was a whitewater raft guide for like 15, 20 years.
Was when I said before I wanted to ask that question, I was going to skip back and say, now tell me about how the heck you guys got so good at whitewater rafting.
Mm.
Yeah, so he worked for on the Nimboida River and the Franklin and the Upper Murray and
the Guida
and
oh wow,
lots of rivers. It was fun times and great and that's pretty much how I love the outdoors. I always wanted to do it. Actually, to go right back, how I actually got started rafting was years and years ago. A lot of things that sort of you see or stuff that sort of happens that changed your life. And I was reading an outdoor magazine. This is when I was probably only 17, 18 or something.
Yep.
And seen this article on the Franklin River and just read it. I was fascinated by it and thought, oh, wow, that's pretty awesome. And that'd be a great thing to do maybe one day as a sort of job. Never thought I really would, but eventually did and loved it. And still do it. We've still got our own sort of whitewater raft. So
yeah, that's awesome.
When the rivers are on, we're sort of out there sort of chasing the water and having fun.
That's cool.
Wow.
Was there a definitive point? Was there a catalyst? What was this point where you guys made this big decision, or what I guess normal people consider a very, very, very big decision to just sell up and get into the outdoors permanently?
Not a particular moment. Caz has got a daughter and she'd grown up and she lived with us for year 11 and 12 and had gone off to uni and was pretty established. So there was that freedom that came with her being really independent, and we just kind of went, we're getting older and one day we're not going to be able physically to do some of this stuff.
Yeah, you must be coming up to your 40s now, you guys.
Yeah, that's right. Haven't quite, something
plus a little bit
like
more.
That.
But we're still out there doing it. That's
I know, you're out there doing it big too.
Mm.
And look, we didn't, the paid jobs weren't necessarily career jobs. We were working jobs. They were just jobs.
To bring in money so we could just go out and play and have fun. So even when we were sort of working, we used to have a thing every second weekend we'd be out adventuring.
We'd do an adventure.
Yeah.
And then we had this, we weren't quite getting enough, so we'd do sort of these little midweekers. So we'd actually go out after work and go out in the bush or out in some headland or down the beach and sort of bivvy out and sort of ride into work the next day just to make it feel like that we'd been out there.
A little micro adventure.
Yeah.
Our little Thursday night specials.
Specials, we call them. And they were great. We used to just pick places and it just sort of charges your batteries and just keeps you going. You guys probably know it. If you don't do it for a while, if you're not out in the bush or you get a bit flat and you just need that sort of charge up.
Yeah.
You need to get out and about. And as I was speaking to you earlier on in the week, the bush just brings in a bit of magic. It weaves this little spell on you.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's and I mean the comment that I made back to you was that there has to be some remedial part of the just sucking in that much pure oxygen, right?
Yeah, a bit.
Apart from the fact that you have to disconnect from everything else, which I think is a blessing.
Yeah. And there's just so many cool things out there, whether it's, plants, animals, or other stuff you see, views, or, stuff that you'll just find along the way. We do lots of off-track sort of stuff, so that's all really good because it's a bit of a challenge, and sometimes you find really cool stuff, and other times you don't.
Sometimes you fight really hard for the kilometre, and sometimes it's just so beautiful and easy. And sometimes when you fight really hard, the things you find at the end, you just feel that much more spectacular because you've worked so hard to get to them and see them. And
Yeah, there's something about arriving at a place that you know that you can't drive to, and that maybe, without exaggerating, maybe 99.8% of the population wouldn't be physically capable of reaching either.
Yeah, that's it.
I've really enjoyed looking at some of your pictures and some of your adventures, guys. Thanks for sharing that stuff for a start.
Thank you for reading.
Yeah. Do you sometimes wonder whether it's do you toss up with the idea of actually keeping them a secret sometimes and not sharing them for everybody else?
There is a few little secret ones. Yes,
I bet there is.
Craig, I've met these guys, mate. They're sneaky as.
And there's a couple. There's a couple that we've sort of put on the blog. We've sort of haven't stated exactly where they are either.
Yeah.
So there's a one or two sort of waterfalls that are pretty amazing.
Right.
And people have asked us where they are, but we just say, well, they roughly know the national park, but we just tell them to go and find it.
Yeah, good on you.
All right, that's
We're
great.
not telling. Because you tell too many, sometimes with social media and stuff like that, everyone can start going there, then it creates more tracks and
Exactly. Yeah.
And the place sort of just goes to pot, for a better word, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a sad result of that's the effects of social media at the moment, and the truth is there's enough secret spots out there for everybody to go and find their own. Craig and I got a couple of our own, but I think the slightly lazier people out there just see a photo and go, right, where's that? Tell me exactly where it is. I'll go there and job done. But that, I think they're missing the point, and that point is of not knowing that it's there and then discovering it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one of the things we've always tried to do is, particularly with some of those special spots, but really with most of the blog posts, is we don't write them like track notes. We really just want to try and give the story of what we experienced and what the place is like. So we try to talk about the environment and the things we found and saw and how the walk was, rather than saying turn left at this tree and turn.
No.
Your
right stuff's far superior to that, Chrissy. It's way better than that. That's why it was in a magazine, not because it was track notes.
We have had a couple of funny. So we had one blog post that was up there for a while on Mount Murchison, which is a stunning walk in Tasmania. Not something
down on the west coast.
Yeah, not many people sort of know about it. It's a track. It's you can follow it, and there's a logbook at the start of it to sign in, but it just doesn't have a lot of signage. And it's a challenging little day walk to the summit. And we just decided that we'd like to camp up there, as we often do. We've no idea. We'd not heard anything about whether there was a campsite up there. We just put our packs on and set out for an overnight walk, and just thought, well, you always usually find something. So off we went. We had this walk, and it was amazing. We ended up finding, there was actually a local photographer up there who gave us a bit of a tip about where he reckoned there might be a good campsite. So up we went and kind of ventured off track a little bit and found this amazing campsite, and just had the most incredible experience overnight. Beautiful scenery, stunning sunrise, with this massive vista to the east of Cradle Mountain and Barn Bluff, and was incredible. And so when we wrote the blog, we talked about this secret campsite. We got that many inquiries because it had the word secret in it. So it was like a red rag to a bull. It was like everyone was just sending. We got the most amount of messages of all of our blog posts. Can you tell us where the secret campsite is? And we're like, well, it won't be a secret if we tell you. And we actually had a guy ring me at work. I was at work and he was ringing me from the summit. And he said, I can't find the secret campsite.
Wow.
Can you tell me where it is?
Just look a bit harder.
Yeah. Do you know what a secret is?
So we ended up taking that down. So we took the word secret out of that story and we haven't heard another thing from it.
Wow. Isn't that incredible? That's a great social experiment.
Yeah.
Just one word.
Yeah.
All right, I'll make sure I don't do that in our blog post, Craig. If I do, I'll put Craig's number on there.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
But it's great, like on social media anyway, just to see your stuff and similar sort of, roll through your feed, and it just inspires and kind of motivates people to just get outdoors. So, I encourage people to look you up anyway, and I'm sure
that's what we want to do. We just want to make people get out there, have an adventure yourself. It doesn't matter if you find the place we went to. It doesn't matter if we've been there or someone else has been there. You will find something amazing yourself.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The weather could be amazing on that day, or the sunrise could be amazing.
Or and a echidna walks across your path, or a spotted quoll's playing outside your tent. It's just, you can have all those experiences wherever you just go somewhere.
You could run into me on the trail.
That's it, yeah. I'm a big strapping, spade-bearded hipster.
Sipping my latte.
But as I said earlier on in the week as well, for lots of people, they're pretty time poor, so that doesn't matter. You don't have to always go for the big trips or anything like that. Some of our best trips have been really short trips, just like a little overnighter somewhere.
Yeah,
two days. Because most people only got weekends, so
yeah,
you can fit a fair bit into 2 days. But
yeah,
you don't always have to go
into that.
hard and fast and big distances or anything like that. You just pick a bit of a spot and get out there and explore.
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people overthink it as well, especially if they're kind of new to the whole concept of whatever it is, camping, forward driving, hiking, canoeing, it doesn't matter. I think they think, well, if we're going to do this trip, we need to do it big, we need to plan it, it needs to be long, and what they don't realise is these smaller trips, they're the ones where you can make the mistakes and, buy the crappy sleeping mat that gets a hole in it the first night, but you're only out for a night, so it doesn't matter. You're not out for 7 days. So you make all the mistakes, make the adjustments, and gradually build up to it.
Yeah, that's right. You learn each time you go out. You always learn, I think.
Yeah, it's the best fun.
Yeah, we still learn. We go out lots and go all sorts of by different means, whether it's bike or walking or rafting, and you still learn. And a good way is, to talk to people from that area, or someone from a club, or if you're not sure. And there's different ways of finding out information. You just got to be sort of a little bit flexible and spread your wings a little bit and do that little bit more sort of research.
Yeah, I've definitely found in the hiking realms or any of that outdoor stuff, if you run into somebody and start having a chat, you've already pre-qualified that you're probably going to get along because you're both hiking or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're usually pretty good at sharing information. I know Craig and I definitely are, because I don't know, it's different to a lot of other, how would you say, pastimes or sports, in that even surfing, I spent 10 years living in Noosa and surfing 3-4 times a week, and there'd be a bit of a thing where you wouldn't tell many people, if a certain spot was going off, you just wouldn't
Oh,
mention it,
yeah.
but you'd just
Yep.
take you and two of your mates and go there.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's completely opposite, and I think that's why I'm attracted to it so much as well.
And it's that that self-sufficientness of bushwalking as well. Everything's just on your back. You've got to carry it everywhere, and
Yeah, I think there's something in that, something pretty special in that. What's the work that you're doing at the moment? I think you might have said the words outdoor education or something when we spoke earlier in the week.
yeah, we're both working down here at Gloucester in a place called Barrington Outdoor Adventure Centre.
Okay.
And midweek we do lots of schools, so that's outdoor education.
Yep.
So that'll be a range of activities from walking, abseiling, high ropes, kayaking, canoeing, rafting,
Mountain
mountain biking.
Sort of.
Yeah, so
Sounds
and they'll
awesome.
and they'll do sort of different trips. Sometimes, they're 5 days, sometimes they're 3 days, and they'll have varying sort of activities.
And then on weekends, we do commercial guided tours and also sort of like hire. The main thing down here historically has been whitewater kayaking on the Barrington River. So
Okay.
it's a really great little river to start on, lots of grade 1, grade 2 rapids, and so lots of people come here to sort of, start kayaking and learn their skills.
I see.
Unfortunately, we've not had a lot of water. So
Right.
the weekends are a little bit quieter at the moment in terms of we're not paddling at the moment, but
Yep.
hopefully.
It's sort of been everywhere.
Yeah.
Sort of this summer. It's been quite sort of dry, so it hasn't been even on some of your bigger rivers around that they haven't even had much water as well. So so that's affected business a little bit. But sometimes they'll just come and have a bit of a abseil. But the company runs a little campsite there at on the Barrington River. So if we're not sort of doing all those different activities, we sort of help run the campsite, do the lawns and toilets and bins and that. So
Be regular, normal people with jobs.
You reckon if Craig and I kind of dressed like a couple of school kids, we could sneak in with one of these groups?
Yeah.
for sure.
Deal.
Sounds good. Hey, you guys started telling us some of your stories earlier. Maybe, for our listeners, where in Australia has the best walks? Which state is the number one?
Oh, wow. You're going to stir up some...
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Craig's
great.
a
People
bit
always
like
give us
this.
this one.
You got to watch
Yeah.
him. He's not interested
Well,
if people
There
aren't
can be only
fighting.
one.
Well, I reckon there's like great spots all over Australia. I probably
That is
Should
so
give Australia-
diplomatic.
I knew
Kaz.
you were going to say that.
I should give Australia a bit of a plug because we're a big sort of nation and there's
Yeah.
great diversity and great walks, but we'll nail a few for you.
Yeah, for sure.
If you ever get the chance, I rate out at Alice Springs, the West McDonnell Ranges. There's a trail out there called the Larapinda. If you ever get
Oh,
time,
I know
Absolutely.
people who've done that.
223 kilometres, 19 days.
Have you done it, Tom?
No, I've got friends who have done it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just gorgeous out there. Just
19
of a
days,
night,
mate.
of a night, you can actually nearly hear a pin drop. It gets that quiet. It's just this eerie quietness, and then dingoes and just the stars and just the scenery, because there's not heavily forested like here on the east coast and along
Yeah.
the Great Dividing Range. There's smaller trees, bloodwoods, and
Yeah, that's an
ghost
interesting
and
point.
different stuff. So you get all these sort of big views, and they're actually big mountain ranges there. They run sort of east-west. And
Okay.
people think out in the middle of Australia is sort of flat, but man, it's got some good stuff going there.
It's got
One-
some beautiful canyons and gorges and wildlife.
And on the Larapinda, you're sort of up and down and in between two ranges, the Heavy Tree Range and the Chewings Range. I rate the Chewings Range it's awesome.
Right.
If I had the opportunity, I'd go out and do some more exploring out there because it's just got this great feel
Okay.
about it.
All right, Craig, write that down quickly, mate.
Yes, number one.
Yeah.
Number one.
All right.
Yeah, it's pretty
I'll
diverse.
give-
The country where Australia's got so many different sort of
That's the thing, yeah.
landscapes.
And I think we don't sometimes appreciate it in a way. Like people like to think of other bigger mountains or overseas or even in some of our magazines.
Yep.
If you have a look at it, we'll have a lot of overseas content within those magazines and little bits of Australian content. But it's an Australian magazine, so you should really back your own.
Yeah.
Like if you looked at a US magazine, it'd be lots of US stuff, and they might have something, say, on Costa Rica or some other, place close by.
Yeah.
But
That's a fair call. It's almost, I feel like I've definitely, since I've got involved in hiking, I've seen a growth within Australia, but we're still miles behind the States.
Yes.
That they just, it's such a popular pastime. I think in Australia, that beachside camping or even just going to the beach on a weekend is a massive thing, and people, as you say, they kind of discount the mountains and all that sort of stuff. But I totally agree with you, mate. There's a ridiculous amount of biodiversity here and change of terrain. If you think about for a second that there's potentially quite possibly some snow on some peaks somewhere right now. Up here in Brisbane, we just got smashed with a tropical storm yesterday, a massive storm that shut down trains and everything. You guys are down there saying you're not getting rain. It's all over the place at the same time, and there's a lot to see.
Yeah.
So to answer Craig's original question, I'll let our blog readers give you an answer. So we've got like about 115 stories on there, from all over.
You got some statistics.
Country. I've got a few stats for you.
I love
so
a good
you're
stat.
going to love this. So number one, all-time favourite story. So the blog's been going since 2012.
Right.
Yeah.
Is the Steamers, Main Range National Park, Queensland.
I've got them on my list to do very soon. I was hoping to do it this winter.
Yeah.
It
was great.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's not too far from us.
No, it's really close, and there's not a lot of information on the internet about it either.
No, that's what makes it pretty cool, I reckon.
Yeah.
Because when we first went there, we actually went up the wrong mountain. We come in there, didn't have much idea. We walk up this mountain, we're going, they should be here somewhere.
Oh, look, there they are.
Then we got a bit of a view, and there they were across the next sort of little valley. So we got there the next day.
Notch that one up to experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there a number two? Oh, okay, yeah, great. This is good.
Number two is actually Gloucester Falls, Barrington Tops National Park.
Wow.
And then number three, Walls of Jerusalem in Tasmania.
Oh, now that. Yeah. Have you ever looked on a topo map at the terrain of so for our listeners out there, the Walls of Jerusalem, correct me if I'm wrong, runs kind of parallel to the Cradle Mountain National Park where the overland track is. Yeah.
Yep.
So if you have a look at a topographical map of the overland track and then glance over to the right where the Walls of Jerusalem is, it is insane. It goes from crazy to some other planet like the moon. There's so many lakes, and I didn't even know how you'd traverse through that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, easy walking track. It's like a 3 to 5 day loop walk that you can do, little side trips that you can do. But when you stand up on one of the mountains called the Temple and you look sort of slightly southeast-ish, it is just a plateau of of tarns. It's like silver coins. They're all like little silver coins, just just light reflecting off them.
Wow.
Spread all over this.
That's
this
what
land
you can see
in
on the
front of you.
topo maps.
Yeah, it is stunning.
And you can actually walk from there then into Cradle Mountain as well.
Oh, yes, I've noticed that.
Or I think some people actually walk sort of south and down towards near Mount Ida, down Lake Sinclair. Mount Ida's the real pointy one, if you might remember it when we're at Echo Point. You look
I remember that
the lake to it. Yeah.
Yep.
It's pretty amazing. Tassie's just a beautiful island. It's probably home to really great bushwalking.
Yeah,
I am just going to mention. I'm going to just give a mention to the one that comes in at number 4.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because it holds a very, very special place in my heart.
Okay.
It's called Glenifer Falls, and it's in Dorrigo National Park, and it is one of our sort of hidden spots. There's no track to it. It's quite hard to find. And it's where Caz and I went on our first date.
Oh, wow. There you go.
Very nice.
Did that really rate as number 4, or did you just keep ranking it up yourself, Chrissy? Just kept rereading it.
I use a different computer every time, so I look like a different reader.
It's my favourite.
Oh, this is adorable.
But yeah, it's a great little walk. So it's probably about a 2.5 to 3 hour rock hop up a river called the Never Never River, which is just crystal clear, even after heavy rain, and that it very rarely runs sort of dirty or brown or anything like it, because it's just all rainforest catchment up the top, and the waterfall crashes down off the Dorrigo Plateau in several sort of falls, and it's just a pretty awe-inspiring view from once you get near the bottom of it And then you've got all these pools along the way and big boulders to climb around. It's just,
one of those real wow moments. One
Yeah.
of those you get to a certain point where you kind of been rock hopping up the river for a long time, and you think, wow, it is really beautiful. And then you've got to clamber up a couple of small cascades up the side of them, and then eventually you sort of walk up onto this rock, and there's this massive waterfall just pitching off the escarpment down this big crevice, and you just kind of stand there and go, oh wow.
Yeah.
Just takes your breath away.
There's a certain amount of weight that comes with you guys saying that it's a wow moment.
Yep.
Compared to, I've heard people drive up to a car park and walk 20 metres to a lookout and say wow. but when you guys say it, I mean, people should really take note. And Chrissy, those 4 that you just mentioned, they all have articles, don't they? Obviously, that's where you're getting the stats from.
They all have what, though?
You've written an article about each one of those.
Yeah. So they're all on the blog.
Yeah, cool, right. Because what I do, and people probably get sick of me saying it every damn episode, is I do a page of all the show notes. So anything that's kind of mentioned, I'll go in and put links to it. So, so people trying to drive at the moment and write all this stuff down one-handed, they don't need to. I'll go back and put everything in there and make sure I backtrack and capture all of that. So, in fact, I'm going to go back myself and read them all because these are good.
Yeah. That's cool. So have you guys had any mishaps or...
good question.
Well, I don't know if it is a good question, but do you
I
have
had
any...
the same question, so I want to know.
It must be a good question. Mishaps or sort of dangerous insects or funnel webs, you guys are down that way. I don't know. What's happened?
Yeah, we've had a few, but Chrissy likes to tell this one, so I'll pass it over to her.
It's fairly recent. So there's a couple of stories on our blog again about a place called Axley Gorge. It's incredible country up on the New England tableland just outside of Walker. So it's a big 70-metre waterfall, Axley Falls. Yep. And below that, the gorge runs for about 5 kilometres or so downstream. The access in there is really challenging. You kind of stand on the edge of this gorge and you've got 180-metre cliffs from where you're standing straight to the riverbed below.
Wow.
And so you kind of stand there and go, how do we get in here? It looks completely improbable. So the access ridge is kind of tricky and difficult. We've been in there 3 times now. The first time we went in to travel down, so we wanted to travel downstream through the gorge. So the first time we went in, just totally freaked me out. It was incredibly challenging. The country was wild. We got down to a small little waterfall that we had to climb down, and there were rocks. It's a living landscape. It's just like the gorge is still forming, so it's quite crumbly. There's rock falls all the time. We didn't have helmets that trip. We're standing there, and Caz was rigging up a rope to help us down climb this small waterfall. And as I'm watching him, this rock about the size of a watermelon just went straight into the pool right behind him.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, yeah. So that was like, this place was freaking me out. So I said, look, I'm really uncomfortable. We don't even know what's downstream, whether we've got enough rope and stuff to keep going, so let's go home. So we turned around. He talked me into at least sleeping down there one night, which was crazy, but anyway, we climbed back out. We went back in about 2 years later. We went back with a friend of ours, and we managed to complete the trip in a full day. It was a big, exhausting day, but it was really amazing. It was such a cool adventure. We got down past the little waterfall. There was one more waterfall, and then Caz dropped his camera in the river.
Oh no, I've been there, mate. I can sympathise.
Yep.
So we'd done 2 trips down there, and we had no photos past this one waterfall. And the rest of the gorge is really spectacular. So of course, Caz is like, we have to go back because this is what I do. I get photos. And so in we went again a little while ago, and the night before we went in, it was a nice night. We camped out, slept out, no tent. There was a storm flickering off in the distance, but it was all good. We went into the gorge, took our time. We took 3 days worth of gear so that we could take our time going down. You can do it as a day trip, but we wanted to take photos. And as we were swimming through that pool where he'd lost his camera, we were making jokes about, okay, here we go, let's get some photos. Just don't drop the camera. Maybe we'll just stop for lunch quickly before we go any further. So we threw our gear down in the middle of the river. We're sitting there having lunch, and Caz jumps up and says, I'll just grab a couple of photos. And I'm sitting there, I can hear this really weird noise. It's like a frontal wind, like a big storm coming.
Yeah.
Big sort of roaring noise.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Around, and there's no wind. And I look upstream, and I can see the water coming.
No.
And I'm just jump up and yell at Caz and just say, there's a flood coming. Grab everything, flood coming. And we just I grabbed my backpack, raced it up to the side. This is a gorge as well, so we kind of
you
were
can't
lucky
get too high. Yeah.
No, we were lucky that we had a bit of a scree slope that was beside us.
Yep.
A little bit of a cove kind of thing. So we grabbed our gear, one backpack up, and then came back, got the next backpack. Caz saw the water, started coming and helping. It took 2 minutes from being a dry riverbed to being 2 meters deep.
Wow.
Where we've been sitting.
And a raging sort of river that was just as mad as hell, and
wow.
Yeah, just crazy. And yeah, and as Chrissy said, sheer sort of cliffs, and we're just sort of lucky in this spot. Lucky that we could get, say 3 meters, 4 meters above the river.
Yeah.
So we spent a pretty nervous little night there because there was more rain during the night.
Oh, wow.
And then the rest of the story, how the story ends, you'll have to wait because I'm trying to sell it to a magazine.
Oh, wow.
What a tease.
What a tease, yeah.
And you've probably turned away about 200 people just getting into hiking. Heard that story. And you're like, I'm never going hiking. It's the most dangerous thing. No, there's a really good community service announcement in there, and that's don't ever hike with you guys.
That's it.
No, don't sleep in riverbeds. Craig and I have done it. We've got away with it. It's it's just not right, is it? You see, you guys are the first Australians that have ever told me a flash flood story. I've never heard of one here, so that's I'm going to take note of that.
Yeah, like I tell people, I've been around rivers for 30 odd years, and I've never seen anything like it in my life. I've seen rivers come up quick, but nothing like that. It was pretty intense.
Yeah, that's beyond intense.
Jeez, well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, I imagine the noise of it would have been scary.
The noise, the smell, there was logs, there was all sorts of stuff coming down in there.
It was amazing. We got back to work after that was just like a weekend trip. They were like, "Oh, how was your weekend?"
Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah,
good. Thanks.
There's a particular author I listen to, and he has a podcast, and he has this this kind of a sliding scale where he says that I've spoken about this before on another podcast, but basically the closer you come to some adversity like that, the more memorable the experience is and the longer you'll remember it. And the way he explains it is, like, for example, if you pay to go bungee jumping, the effort required to get to that level of excitement is minimal, but the excitement is big. But then it was just a bungee jump. But the stuff you're talking about is you work hard to get there, and then things don't go as planned, but you're still talking about it, and the way you tell that story with such vigor is awesome.
It's still very fresh.
I want to go again, but Chrissy reckons she'll never get in there again.
That was it.
It's done.
Third time and you're out.
3 times.
But I must say, this area, to walk down in and be in amongst these towering cliffs, if you want a wild place, it's as wild as it gets anywhere around pretty close where we're living at the moment.
Awesome.
It's just crazily beautiful.
And there's a really nice gorge rim walk that's not at all risky, and it's got beautiful little walk for people who don't need to experience what we experienced.
And so when you sell this to one of the big magazines, you're going to let me know.
Yeah.
And I'll mention it on the podcast, and I'll have a link to the magazine.
That'd be great.
Yeah. Good. Excellent. Now, I wanted to, you touched on it there for a second, Chrissy, but when you said it's what Caz does, and that is his exceptional photography. Can you tell us about how that came about, mate? How long has that been a passion?
I think since I first got my license and car, I was sort of heading off into the bush. So I always had a sort of camera there. I never got taught anything about photography. I just sort of grabbed the camera and just it was the old film cameras, and just used to get them processed and just look at them, and just try and work out what I'd sort of done wrong, and just sort of reading a little bit about photography as well. So, and just slowly sort of got better and better over the years, and it's just become a passion and a hobby, and the camera's sort of like a water bowl, Nelly. Everywhere I go.
Goes with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
and it's good. You sort of I think you've got to really look around at your surroundings and develop your eye. So I'll be driving along in the car, and I'll be just looking out, and if something that'll get me, I'll always say to Chrissy, that'll make a good shot. So you're forever looking at things for a shot as well.
Yeah, a light bulb moment in my own photography journey was only really in the last year, where I realised instead of taking a photo at something, to try and actually convey some kind of a story through that one frame.
Yeah.
And when I switch that around in my head, I automatically take better photographs, for me at least.
Yeah. And you got to have a bit of a feel for your environment as well. Sort of for me, I always like to, we don't always do sort of big distances hiking. We like to sort of get in there, set up a bit of a camp, then I'll sort of start walking around and just searching out little spots, and I'll wait until the light's really good and shoot in the afternoon, or maybe early in the morning I'll get up and sort of go out there. So you always sort of, I think the more time you spend in a little spot, you'll develop a better appreciation of it, and you'll see things more.
Yep. Just so you know, I have got up early to take photos, just to be clear. Yeah, just want to be clear about that.
Yeah, that's good. Once or twice?
Yeah, at least once or twice I have done that.
And it's hard yards, like getting up in the middle of winter, and you're in your down bag, and it's as warm as toast, and that's the last thing you want to get out, and it's frosty outside and freezing, but just do it if you force yourself to do it. And
almost very, very rarely is it not worth your while. And if you don't get the shot of your life, you're still up and out when all the animals are kind of moving about.
Yeah.
You're always going to win.
Yeah, and it's a great time. Yeah, early morning, I think it's probably one of the best times.
Yeah, I agree. I noticed that about your photos, actually. I have to say, I was having a good look through them again this week in preparation for the podcast tonight, and I did something that really resonated with me was the lighting a lot.
Yeah.
Like every single photo, I thought, okay, that cliff is on fire. Like he's waited until the sunset or the sunrise, and it's admirable to see that patience, because some people won't appreciate the effort that you've gone to take that picture.
Yeah, and then walk home in the dark. Yeah,
walk home in the dark. Or go back to the tent and wake Chrissy up. See,
we had he does often come back in the dark, and I have to say, effort is his secret. I mean, as someone who's there with him, the effort he puts in, physical effort, is part of the secret. But we did have one camp when we were traveling on our year of adventures. Caz decided it'd be a really cool idea to sleep on a salt lake. So we walked off.
Blame it on Caz.
This salt lake and just headed out into the flat salt and camped on it for the night. And he wandered off at dusk to take photos. And then it got dark and he couldn't see where I was. It's completely flat. There's no distinguishing features.
No.
So I just stand there like a little lighthouse with my head torch, signaling him back in. So, but the photos there's photos on the blog, and they really are spectacular. They're worth the effort.
You must
and then
be
woke up.
You must be doing something right, Caz, for her to stick around and do stuff like that for you.
Oh, we're a team. We're a good team. Takes two to tango, but it works in well with Chrissy's right, maybe with the photography.
While he's off taking photos, it's my time to sit there quietly and put my thoughts down. So
it's a perfect partnership from a reader's perspective. I loved it, and I'll just quickly touch on that story again. That when somebody lent me a magazine, and I was reading through it. What was that called? Is it called Wild?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Wild
it was
magazine.
Wild,
Yeah. So I was
yeah.
reading through this magazine that somebody lent me, a guy that I catch a train with, and I read this article and I thought, this is awesome. And I'm flicking through and I'm looking at the pictures, and I got right to the last paragraph, and then I always do a quick skip down with my eyes and see who wrote the article, just because I'm interested. And I looked at the name and I thought, why does that sound so familiar? And then it just clicked, and I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. Like, I've met these guys. It was crazy, such a small world.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
fantastic
Wild
article.
Mag is looking really good these days. It's got a new
It
owner.
is.
And, yeah, so.
Oh, I love that magazine. I've been, reading that for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I read when I was younger. I always, when I first picked it up, I thought, "Wow, I'm never going to get in that magazine." That stuff.
that's where I'm at now. I'm just thinking, okay, how long until I can get to that level, so I can frame it and put it on the wall. I wanted to. This is a bit of a loop back, actually a big loop back. But when we're talking about the education, the outdoor education with kids, I've got 3 boys, as I mentioned to you guys during the week, and you see a lot of school kids come through. Is there any? Do you guys see a transformation within that short amount of time that you spend with these kids? Or talk us through that.
Sometimes you do, other times you don't. It just depends on the kids, the schools, the teachers as well.
Okay.
A lot of sort of factors which sort of influence it. But I think the more they're out there, the more time they're out there, so on the longer ones, they'll come away with better outcomes and better skills.
I see.
As I say to them, you teach them all these different skills, and they're all at varying skill levels, whether it's being on the mountain bikes or in the kayaks or anything like that. But they're all definitely going home and taking away all these skills, and some skills that they probably don't even know that they're taking home as well. And I tell them, probably 2-3 days after you've been home, you'll appreciate this camp more than probably you are when you're out here now. Because with lots of them, they've never been out camping before, especially if they're sort of younger kids, year 7 or year 8 or something like that.
Or the city kids.
Yeah.
City kids, they've never been away from mum or dad or anything like that. So
Yeah. They're lucky to run into you guys, I can tell you that. Like, you guys are really accommodating, and you know your stuff, and I just think that I'd happily send my boys off to spend a week with you guys, because I know that you'd really nurture that interest.
Yeah, and I think it is. Yeah, I think it's good for kids to do outdoor education. I think all kids should do it, all schools.
Yeah, 100% agree. Should be part of a standard curriculum.
Yeah, because it can just change kids. Some kids that aren't that good at school, they get them out on camp and they wrestle it out there.
Yeah, year 10 for me had a 4-week outdoor education section. I think it meant so much to all of us. Actually, it was great.
4 weeks is great. Yeah. A lot of the things we do are just sort of 3 to 5 days, probably. So the 5-day ones are better.
Yeah, the longer the better.
Yeah, I went to a different high school to Craig, but a lot of my friends, that's how I met Craig. A lot of my friends went to his high school, and heaps of those people have stories, and good stories, about their experience out there.
Yeah, it's very special how they do that. So, each home class, or there's 4 classes in the school, so each home class gets 4 weeks outdoors. It's awesome.
Yeah.
What sort of activities did you have to do?
Yes, everything from high ropes to, there was canoeing, there was 3-day hikes, and there was everything from abseiling and And so we just stayed in dorms at the camp, and then you'd go out and do activities. It was awesome.
Yeah.
No contact with home or anything like that for a while. It was pretty awesome.
And I think that's a good thing, gets kids off all their sort of electronic devices and
Totally.
use their phones. And where our there's no reception out there, so even if they do bring a phone,
even better.
They can't call home or get on Facebook or whatever it be.
One of the interesting things is that a lot of the instructors or guides come back saying that one of the activities the kids really struggle with is occasionally we'll do solo time.
Yeah.
And that's like, they're like, but what do we do? What do we do?
Oh yeah.
If it's only half an hour or 2 hours, and they really panic because they're not used to being unplugged.
Yeah, I did not know myself until I did a solo canoe trip prior to the solo hike where I met you guys. And wow, did I learn a lot about myself and spending time with myself.
It's a unique experience.
Yeah, it's equal parts scary. I remember being apprehensive and anxious and all these other kind of feelings, but once you start to embrace it, I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you notice a difference in your feelings in daylight and nighttime?
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I handled the night a lot better than I anticipated. A lot better. Obviously, I was doing long days in the canoe, and so I guess I was sleeping really well. But late afternoon for me was that anxiety time. Have you got everything set up? Have you got your hammock ready? Is everything ready? Because once the sun sets, you're going to have limited light. And so I'd feel a bit anxious around that time. But strangely enough, I didn't have any kind of fear of the dark on that trip or really any time since. But and that's unusual. I was anticipating that, especially on the first night, but didn't happen.
How did you feel about meeting the challenge of the trip on your own, like not having that friend there to, when you start getting down to?
Well, I'm a pretty stupid guy, so I go into things like this without thinking about that first. So and then I find myself in the situation, and that is the number one thing I learned was when you're with somebody else, you've got a soundboard. You just turn around and go, "Hey mate, do you reckon we should have a break now or have a break in half an hour?" And you've just got that person to check with. Every single decision I made had to be my own, and I had no other opinion of what was a good idea, and that scared me in a few places for sure. Where, there was this trail was closed because of it was super hot and high winds, and it was closed because of bushfires. And I thought, I'll just go check it out for a little while, and then I ended up doing about 6 or 7 kilometers, and I didn't get to the point where I wanted to get to, and then I just called it off and thought, now I'm putting myself in danger. I don't have anybody to kind of bounce this idea off, and it just got me a bit agitated, and it got easier. But there was one point where I was standing there, Chrissy, and I was, after about a solid 3 minutes, I realised I was just standing in the one place looking at the ground, trying to decide, do I make my campsite 10 metres that way or 10 metres that way? And I swore out loud and just said, "You idiot, just make a decision, any decision, and stick with it." Big learning curve.
Cool.
And I found out I'm not a very nice person to be around, so I want Craig there next time. Hey, I'm conscious that we've taken up. You've been so generous with your time. We've taken up a lot of your time. I just want to kind of wrap it up with Scott, looping back to that original conversation where there's people that have had the same thoughts of you guys about packing up and hitting the road. I know there is. You meet these people all the time that entertain the idea. I've only met one couple who actually did sell everything, and they bought a big camper van, and they're homeschooling their son, and they've been gone for about 6 years now, I think, just cruising around Australia, and they not having any dramas at all. But is there anything, I guess, to put it simply, is there any sort of advice that you give to people who are getting to that point where they're considering this?
You won't regret it.
Yeah, just do it.
They won't regret it.
What you got to do is take that first big step.
Yep.
And not be frightened of taking that first big step.
Right.
Once you're out there happening, there's so much to see, so many people you meet. It's just, like this amazing ride that you're on. I mean, look, you have your highs and your lows, like any day or week or month. You'll always be up and down a little bit, and you'll have that on the road. But there's always another day, isn't there?
That's so cool. Sounds like it's definitely in your blood, guys, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, I'm really glad that I've got you guys lighting up my news feed now. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks.
No worries.
And thanks for the chat tonight too.
No, pleasure.
Yeah,
guys.
And from me again, it was an absolute pleasure meeting you guys all those years ago, and we've been in touch ever since. And I still thank you for the warm welcome, and I just needed that little bit of comfort, that little bit of love on the trail, and it was just so good to have you guys there.
From a poem I wrote about that hut experience, ended up being displayed in the Antarctic Poetry Exhibition.
Is that right?
It got displayed in the green room down in Antarctica.
Yeah. Is there anywhere that we can read that poem?
I think there is. I'll try and send you a link. Yeah.
Okay.
Look back.
Sounds good.
You get a mention.
Oh, really? I didn't know this. Well, I've got to see it. Oh, well, hang on. Maybe I don't want to know what it says.
It's all good.
The spa room gets a mention as well.
Who gets a mention?
The spa room.
The spa room. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. So you caught me at my my sloth stage. That's what I was thinking. Oh, that's fantastic. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much for your time. I've had the best chat. It's been good catching up with you guys again. When you're heading up this way again into Queensland, or even if it's northern New South Wales, give me a bit of a heads up, and there's always a spot for your tent in my backyard.
That's beautiful.
Thanks.
That's where we're most at home, in the tent.
Awesome. All right, guys.
See ya.
Okay.
Take care. See you later.
See ya.
If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, we'd really appreciate your ratings and comments if you can spare the time. If you'd like to know more about HikeordieTV and keep track of our adventures around Australia, make sure you drop by Hikeordie.com. That's where you'll find all the information you'll need to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or Pinterest. As always, we appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.